What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Meh of Pig and Meh here. So, recently in my string of decks to piss off my locals with, I may have come across a deck that may be legitimately the most fun I have had in quite a while. As you see before you, it's clearly Shaddoll Trains. Nah, I'm kidding. It's burnt. So yeah, so quick aside, I took this to locals today for the sneak peek, and I did alright. I got pretty close to winning the mat and shit, but there were 2 rounds that I lost. One because of piss poor communication from my opponent about what cards were doing what. So I got super fucking salty from that. And in my last round, I just got savagely sacked like a motherfucker. And yeah, that was just a terrible fucking time. But beyond that, the rest of the matches I had, they're really good. And this deck performs really well. So let's go with the BS and show you guys the new age of Chainburn. Alright, start this out. For monsters, you playing 3 copies of Lava Golem, 2 copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, 3 copies of Muhammad the Fairy Dragon. For sure, in all future iterations, you'll want to keep playing these cards. Ghost Mourner here strangely seems like she was actually tailor-made for a strategy like this because of her burn effect. And she's fantastic for going second. Same thing with the Lava Golems. But I will make note, I'm probably going to cut her up to 3 and try to change some other things around in future iterations of this deck. But overall, for sure, these cards were all good in some way, shape, or form. What card was kind of mediocre, but it existed, was 3 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. So the deck I originally had based this one off of played 2 of this Paleozoic Trap and a Transaction Rollback. But in his profile, he stated he wanted to play this card. But for me, this card didn't do shit. So, I don't know. I get why he played it, and it's really good. But at the same time, I might just cut it in future builds. I'm not 100% sure. That's your monster lineup. Just pretty simple to the point. You could actually go first or go second with this deck. And more often than not, I just opted to go second to let my opponent build their board and then capitalize on certain burn traps. We'll get to those in 1 second. For the spells, 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This card was absolutely phenomenal. Like, legit, it cuts off other burn or draw cards, so you can't really play this and then use something like Accumulated Fortune, Yatagarasu, or Jar of Greed hardly anymore, but yeah, just have more room for burn spells. And the only other burn or draw spell I played was 1 copy of One Day of Peace. This card was insane because I could just play it and then not play anything else and then just act accordingly. And the very last spell in the whole deck, 1 copy of Chain Strike. Konami, can you put this at 3 already? Card's phenomenal. So yeah, these are all your monsters and spells. Everything else you're about to see is all traps. Starting out with the best, 3 copies of Ceasefire, 3 copies of Just Desserts, 3 copies of Esplosione Segreta. I legit forget this card's English name, so forgive me. 3 copies of Secret Barrel. Well, yeah, these are the best ones. And these are the first line to you. It's pretty easy to explain. All of these cards basically just burn your opponent for having resources. Just Desserts and Ceasefire, 500 per monster. Ceasefire, they have to be effect monsters. Just Desserts, it could be any monsters. Secret Barrel for all the cards in their hand and on their field. And Esplosia Segreta for all cards just on their field. And then this has the added effect that when it gets destroyed, it burns for 1,000. So that's really good. Alright, now into some more niche and kind of techie ones. 2 copies of Bad Luck Blast. This is Explosia Secreta, but it targets a monster, burns you and the opponent, and if it gets destroyed, it burns for an additional 1,000. So theoretically, if you have these and Exploso, then you can deal a load of damage if they ever duster you, which is neat. I only own the one copy of Ring of Destruction immediately, but I might just bump this up to 3 because the card's pretty good. 3 copies of Dimension Wall. This card is basically Magic Cylinders that doesn't target. 2 copies of Gravediggers. This card is phenomenal, and I like it. And then the last set of traps kind of do the same thing. 2 copies of Trap Trick, 2 copies of Boo Boo Game. This card did not do anything all day, but it did get hit by a lot of other removal cards. So my burn cards could actually do stuff. And yeah, that's about it. But theoretically, if it gets destroyed while set, you could set 2 traps and then proceed to activate them, which is neat. And it's one of the only other real defensive options because it makes it where you take no damage. And then Trap Trick here, you play a lot of normal spells, so it makes sense. Alright, that's the main deck. Go on to the extra deck. Because this is fun. I'm telling you, it's just Shaddoll Trains. Chew, fucking chew, motherfucker. And then the only actual card that can kind of sort of matter, Sorcerer Sebek. This has a neat effect that, like, you gain when damage is inflicted, and then it can burn for even more. And it's mostly generic, so the card is cool. I guess I'll go over the side. Here's every card I didn't use. This card, this card, this card for shits and giggles. And yeah, the other cards I did use. This card, like I was telling you, the main. This card is pretty good. This card was funny. And this card, the only time I saw it is when my opponent paid 2,000 life points to play that one of hard-drawn Harpy's Feather Duster. You fucking sack. So yeah. That's the sideboard. So in closing, yeah. I really, actually, legit adore this deck. Is it the greatest deck ever? Will it win a YCS? No. But it taps into a kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you need to know what your opponent's playing. You need to know what to do accordingly. And that is way more fun for me personally than dealing with hand traps and infinite negate boards. In the future, though, I may actually awkwardly have to play certain hand traps or do something different. Maybe find some more optimal burn traps, whatever. But overall, this deck is fantastic. And if you fucking hate your locals, well, here's a great way to lose friends in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is Meh, Pig and Meh, signing out.